Hi everyone, my name is Renee Huang. I'm the founder of Wild Women Tribe, a group that brings transformational and empowering experiences to women outdoors. The Ignite podcast is an extension of that, and we are happy to present it in partnership with Park City Television. Today, I'm really excited to talk about transformation with these two beautiful ladies. We have Melissa Garland from Tadasana Yoga here, and we have Hollye Shepherd from LYLO Design. Hi ladies, how are you?
Hi.
Thank you for being willing to sit down and talk about transformation together.
Excited to do
we
it.
had a lot of chit chat before we started rolling, and I'm excited to dive in because I think one of the things that I found truly beautiful about Wild Women Tribe and our wanders is the ability for women to instantly dive into these conversations that matter. And so I think transformation is one of those that no matter what age and stage we are, we have something to say about it. Just by way of background, Melissa, you own Tadasana Yoga here in Park City and also recently opened in Lehigh.
Second location in Lehigh, yes.
And you have gone through lots of transformation.
A lot of transformation, yeah.
We were formerly with Adobe, had a marketing executive background, and then decided quite recently, within the last year, to dive over
Yeah, and
there.
I'll talk about that later, but it was a moment for me where I realized, yeah, this is not what I want to be doing anymore.
Yeah.
And an opportunity presented itself. I mean, and it's funny, my mind just went to this place, which is, I started to say an opportunity presented itself, but I really think that what happened was I created the opportunity for the change, almost without knowing it, but by being open to it. So, big change in my life a year ago, and now, you know, I get to do what I love and love what I do every day.
That's exciting.
Which is awesome.
And then Hollye and I met at a women's entrepreneurial workshop. I think it was a venture capital kind of private equity meeting, and I asked a stupid question or something.
I'm like, she's awesome. I would ask that same question.
And you're new to town relatively as well, right?
Year and a half, almost 2 years now.
Yeah, and you moved here with your young family, 3 kids under 7.
Yes,
and your
2, 4, 6.
Yep, and your husband, and you guys moved from Austin.
We did.
And you were like the wedding photographer in town.
When I was living in Scottsdale.
Okay, in Scottsdale, yeah.
For 14 years.
And also lots of transformation kind of leading you out of that journey and into your present life as well.
Yep.
So I kind of wanted to start and dive right into the idea of transformation. For me, it's really funny because I feel like we give transformation a lot of focus for children and babies and stuff. We're like, oh, look, they're milestones, you know, and we kind of expect for them to rapidly move through these kind of milestones and kind of ages and stages. But then when we grow up and we get into a certain phase, I don't think we necessarily stop, but we really feel like we're in a different phase and maybe don't need it as much, or maybe we don't focus on it as much. Do you guys have any thoughts on just the actual concept of transformation?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, for me, transformation has always been change, right? So there's 2 ways you can change. You can change by improving yourself, or you can change by not improving yourself, devolving. And I feel like if you don't actively pursue any sort of change or growth in your life, you're not only going to go stagnant, but you're going to go down. Because we're constantly getting older, and our bodies are changing, and if you don't maintain that, you're certainly not going to go anywhere but down. I think that's the only way for me to define transformation. But yeah, so as far as the way I look at transformation in my life, it's always been setting goals, trying to improve myself, and always staying in touch with the 3 pillars in my life, which are sleep, nutrition, and health. So like exercise. Getting outside, staying healthy. So I feel like as long as I have those 3 pillars set in my life, I'm going to transform in a good way. But then the next step is setting goals, like where am I going? Where am I transforming to? So when I started my business, I had 2 small kids and I was pregnant with my 3rd. I didn't have a lot of time, but for me, I wanted to work on a passion project. I was feeling like I was stagnant, which you do when you're home a lot with 2 little kids and pregnant. So for me, it was like wanting to be creative, wanting to push myself. So at night, after I put the kids down, for 30 minutes or an hour, I worked on my passion project because I knew that would be the only way that I could change or transform in any sort of way. My day-to-day was really stagnant, but I had this hour at the end of my day that I was going to use to educate myself and to, create a product that was going to make people better and healthier. So that was my impetus for change.
That's amazing.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
What about you, Melissa? What has transformation meant to you?
Yeah, I love the way you chose, kind of 3 things that you centered transformation on. In fact, that as I was thinking about your question coming here, transformation, you have to have a definition, and the definition, transformation is change. That is what it is, right? So the question is only, what are you changing to, as you say, like to something better or away for something better, like getting better, getting worse. And it occurs to me that despite the fact that we don't put the labels on it in transformation, like milestones, as you mentioned, like I agree, we get to, oh, you've got a job, you've finished college, you've got a job, you're done. I mean, there's some other milestones, you get married, you have kids, right? And those are big changes. And maybe for those of us in this particular room, you get past that bit and then you're done, like there's nothing else after that. So what I feel like I see happening in popular culture, and I mean that in the best way today, is a welcoming, an embracing of the idea of transformation, and it's starting to be imbued with this idea of positive change, right? That's why I think you use the word with your program, and that's why we use it in the yoga business. It means to do something to improve yourself, right? And I think that everyone is actively looking for, so what I think is happening is that people actually don't know, that they aren't clear about what to start looking for. You've identified 3 things, right? Like I need to look at these: health and, tell me again, sleep and exercise and nutrition. And that, when you have that clarity of your vision, you can set goals around it and so forth. Most people don't have that, I think. And so one of the things that has become clear for me in the world of transformation is, particularly in my business of yoga, is helping people set and be clear about what it is they need to transform. And the idea here is quite simple. At the end of the day, we're all looking to be happy.
Happy, exactly.
We're all looking for happiness. Now, what does that mean? That's where you get stuck, right? Because everybody's constantly trying to be happier. I wore this coat and not that one because I thought it would make me happier, not explicitly, but implicitly, right? So you're constantly making choices that we think are going to make us happier, but we don't explicitly articulate them. And so I define them as physical, mental, and spiritual. So when you have physical health, mental health, and spiritual health, that's what gets you to happiness. So for me, the transformation exercise is one of, where am I unhealthy physically, and what do I need to transform to get there, mentally, spiritually, and then we break that down.
When you decided to leave your corporate job, and
yeah, I absolutely
so you actually
did.
Identified it and went for it.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think, I guess what I'm trying to say with this is that what I feel is that most people think they want to transform. They're embracing the idea that transformation would be a good thing, because transformation generally means something positive, and that it would get them closer to happiness. And now if we could just help them understand what it is they need to, where do you work? What areas do you work on, right, in order to get there?
Well, like Hollye, it seemed like you were saying you did it little by little, right? Do you have any other things that helped you kind of get to where you felt like you were making progress? And
yeah, I mean, for me, I'm going to specifically talk about transformation in a business format. So having an idea, passion project for me was my bags and moving towards that. I did the same thing with my photography when I was working my way up the hierarchy of photography. Is literally just like spending 30 minutes to an hour every day. And it's a very palatable amount of time that you can do. And as I was mentioning to you guys before, the best habits are created in the morning and in the evening, because that's when the day-to-day stuff is kind of out of the way. So for me, I needed to get into the habit of doing something every night. And I think transformation happens with small changes and with habits. So if you can get in the habit of doing something, if you want to get healthier, and that's your goal, well then do a 30-minute, 15-minute, 30-minute habit every morning or in the evening if you just can't build it into your schedule. So I think that once you figure out what it is that you want, business, lifestyle change, health change, write it down, tell somebody, put it in a journal, and then figure out the 30 minutes that you need to do every day. So anyone can do something for 30 minutes a day, right?
And
at
just
any
do
time.
something.
Do something, yeah, that's going to move you in that direction. And those little steps are going to be the seeds of change that will eventually transform you into the direction that you want to go. You just have to be very clear as to what direction you want to go in. Is it, like I said, what's your goal? You know, and state that. It's so important to write it down and to put it somewhere that you're going to see, because otherwise it's easy to get sidetracked. It's easy to want to sit down and watch that show on TV and not do your 30 minutes of whatever it is. It's so easy to get sucked into those lifestyles. But
well, I like the idea of telling someone, because then it kind of brings in the accountability factor.
Totally.
And support.
Yep.
Right? So if you tell someone trusted, then they'll be your cheerleader and your support no matter whether you're failing or succeeding, right? So
Exactly.
it's that idea of
you don't
just
have to tell everybody.
saying it out loud. Yeah.
Yeah, and you don't want to tell everybody, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't want to feel accountable if you don't succeed. But if you tell one person, and if you're, I mean, I remember telling a friend of our family, Jatana, I was like, I am going to do this. I am so determined and going to do little steps, and this is my goal. She was my one person that I wanted to kind of prove it to as well.
Yeah.
And, you know, I have my kids too. I want to prove something to them. But once I got that out there in the world, it kind of, I feel like the universe just conspired to help me in a lot of ways. But
That's cool.
I also worked hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. I
very
really
cool.
love that. I think it's interesting that when it comes to transformation, sometimes we talk ourselves out of it because we make it too difficult. When I was starting Wild Women Tribe, you know, people said, well, do you have a business plan? And do you have kind of goals, 3 month, 6 month, 9 month? And I kind of said, no. I just want to try it and see how it goes. And so I think, you know, starting with a really solid intention, you know, I really wanted to bring women together. I wanted it to be an empowering, positive space. I wanted it to be based around the outdoors. And I just kind of like let the rest go and did little by little. I think that can take you so much further than getting lost in your head sometimes and really knowing, you know, oh, where am I going to be 12 months from now? You don't have any idea. But I think with transformation, the idea is to just open yourself up for the possibility.
And the baby steps is the interesting point. I think you were kind of saying that too. I know a lot of women who, maybe men too, but good girlfriends who have these brilliant ideas, right? They've got really exciting things they want to or could do in their lives, and they can't get going, right? Like for them, that could be their transformation. They're kind of stuck in a rut. They know they'd love to go here. They could. And you just see them kind of really struggle, right? Stuck in this same spot. And what I find that happens with most of those people is their goals are too far out here.
Exactly.
Right? They need to break them down and then break them in half again and then break them in half again and break them in half again until you get to the point where you're like, okay, I just need to do the 30 minutes or whatever your dedicated time is to doing this for the next week or month or whatever. Because otherwise, you're right, you stay exactly where you are.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my next kind of question in the conversation really goes toward, I want to talk about success, but I also want to talk about those moments where maybe it was the turning point, it was the pivotal point where maybe Hollye, you decide, I need to leave my business, you know, or Melissa, you know, I need to transition into this yoga full time. I mean, what did that feel like, and what was kind of the catalyst for that moment to finally come?
In business, it's about incubation. So with photography, I was working in another job, and I really wanted to be a photographer, like with my whole heart. And I set a goal, I need to make $100 a day in photography. Like I need to do a shoot where I can earn $100 a day. And once I achieve that, then I can go to the next level. And I started achieving it. So it was like incubating. It was like putting the idea out there and seeing how people responded. So my work started getting better, and I started honing my business skills and becoming better at, you know, preaching my method of photography and explaining to people like how they needed to stand and to look. And once I got my shtick down, then I could raise my prices. But it's just like those baby steps of like putting it out in the world, seeing how the world reacts to it. And you know, you need to be negotiable. Like you need to say, you know what, maybe this isn't for me and I need to like shift gears and transform into something else. Maybe, you know, that direction isn't for everybody. It's like marriages too, you know, it's not for everybody. So for me, and with my bag business, you know, I did a Kickstarter with it. That was my incubation. So I needed to put it out in the world and see how people responded, and it was a good response. So,
Cool.
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, what about you?
I want to make sure I'm clear. You want to know what led to the creation of whatever transformation happened in my life? Is that
Well,
kind
I
of the...
remember, I mean, I've been a Tadasana
Yeah.
yoga
Yeah.
aficionado for many years, and I remember when you purchased the business,
Yeah.
and then for quite some time you were doing both. You were kind of like
Yes, yes.
marketing executive for Adobe, and
Yes.
you know, by day, and then it was like your
Yes,
superhero
and yoga
kind of
studio
alter
owner by night.
ego.
Yes, that's right.
Right, and then there was a shift.
Yeah.
Right, and I saw you offering more classes, like everything became more dynamic, and then
Yes.
last January it was kind of like you were
Yes,
done. So
yes.
I want to know what got you over into
Yeah,
that
yeah.
like leap off the cliff.
So, you know, I think sometimes often the triggers in our lives are fairly simple. Again, it's like somehow I'm unhappy. It's stress levels usually, right? It's not spending enough time with family. It's all those things that everybody we know struggles with. And what happens is most of us don't find a way to deal with it, right? We just power through, and because women are incredibly strong and they're able to do 20 things at once, and then they get really proud of that, and there's a whole ego thing around that becomes a problem. I mean, I had that, I would admit. I would have say, you know, there was a part of me at the beginning that was like, well, look, you know, I can do this and that, and isn't that amazing, sort of thing. And of course you get rewarded. You get people going, oh, wow, that's so amazing, and that makes you strokes whatever ego you have too, right? But it takes you going inward and paying attention to the voice in your head that's really saying, you know, this isn't working. It's not, no. And then it helps to encounter others, to encounter a transformative experience of some kind, to finally have the conversation, the come to Jesus conversation with somebody, like some version of a trigger, which for me was, we held our first yoga teacher training here in Park City, and that's a major to-do to create a program like that. And in the process of creating the program, I needed to really sit down and think about what was the business doing? What were we really all about? Why would anybody come take a teacher training with us? And that led me to this clarifying vision of physical, mental, you know, spiritual health, which gets you to happiness. And that led me to the idea of, like, I've seen so many people transformed at the studio, and, you know, what if we could just help one person at a time, one at a time, and they take it out into their community. So it led to this idea of, you know, creating happy communities, one student at a time.
And then it started with you.
Which then made me go, okay, you know, I just can't keep doing this, and I can't take it to more people if I keep trying to be some superwoman running 3 jobs. So it was really for me very much like, this is it, I'm making a change. Like, and I picked the date and done. Like and I think again, that always takes me, because I think sometimes women might listen to these kind of comments and go, well, all well and good for you, right? You had X or Y, I don't. And I hate for anyone to take that away from those kinds of comments. I like for people to be able to see, okay, whatever transformation you need to, there are always places you can go, right?
Yeah.
There are always changes you can make, even if it means you can't quit your day job, even if it means that, you know, you need to do these things that are taking up a lot of time. There are ways to make transformation. You know, we can talk about everything from like meditations and walking and, you know, cooking, or I don't know, all these things that we don't do enough of to find inner peace, right?
But I think ultimately it starts with like us giving ourselves the space to sit and listen to the voice inside, right? And like stopping that whole comparing social media, like she has it better than I do, and look how great that person's life is. And so creating the space, whether it's in the morning or at night, or just allowing yourself to sit in the sometimes uncomfortable feelings, right? Of like, ooh, I feel that doubt, or oh, this is yucky, you know, I don't like the way that I'm thinking about that. I mean, I think transformation can happen when we allow ourselves to be uncomfortable and listen to those things that are the quiet voices that are trying to push us towards that. Right.
You know, I know you'll probably get to tools, but I don't want to forget this one. This really tremendous idea that we do as part of a big transformation program we do at the studio is you write your future self a letter. And like for a year from now, right? A year from now, this is what's happening in your life. This is who, you know, and you're literally saying, you know, congratulations, you've done this, and you're going here and you're going there. And then you can literally, so if you can have a friend do it for you, we do this where a teacher will take it, and then a year later we'll put it in the mail.
Oh, that's awesome.
And this happened, because I participated in it a couple years ago. I got this letter in the mail. I was like, oh wow, and yeah, I did that, and I didn't do that, but okay, right? And it was really setting goals
Yep.
in a way, as well as reminding me then a year later that, okay, yeah, I have this plan, and it gives me some motivation to listen, you know, force yourself to write down the voice in your head, right? And then see how it goes. So anyway,
that.
it's a cool tool.
Yeah, I did something similar where it was like my older self
Yes.
looking back on my life and like reflecting on the things that I was proud to have achieved, you know. And I think when you can put yourself in that space of looking back and kind of taking stock, it allows you to maybe let go of the things that don't matter as much, you know, like, oh, I'm making such a big deal of how the cookies look for my kid's bake sale. I mean, you know, and then you're like, well, does that really matter, like 40 years down the line?
Right.
Hollye, do you have some tools that you also use?
Well, I think if you're trying to move forward, it's important to look at your past. And for me, you need to know this. I needed to know in the times that I've been making lots of transformations in my life, that the story of my past was a story where I came out the hero. I think there's two ways you can define your story, or you're the victim or you're the hero. And how you know if you are that is you tell a friend your story of your history, and do they go, oh, I'm so sorry, you're the victim. If they say, oh wow, that was a great story, you've had an incredible life or whatever, then you're the hero. And once you've defined yourself as the hero in your past, that's when you can start making changes. Because if you have baggage from your past that you can't let go of, if there's things that are holding you down, you can't transform, because you'll find a way to talk yourself out of it, because there isn't that internal love and that internal forgiveness. So if you can rewrite your story in a very positive way, I think that's a way to move forward and be a good supporter of yourself.
And empower yourself and know that you are the hero in your life, right? I love that.
Do you know that research shows that optimistic people do better on tests, do better in their careers, do better in their relationships, recover faster from surgery, like just all around more successful optimism? Then the real question becomes, if you are pessimistic, can you change that, right? Because part of what happens in our culture is pessimism is taught to us not as bad, but as practical or realistic, right?
Or it's unifying.
Yeah,
right.
Like somehow you can say, oh, it's so bad.
I can relate to you.
We can connect because we're both suffering. We have to get out of that, right? And you can change.
But that's what this is, you know, it's like teaching people that positive influence and positive conversations are the catalyst for which we take ownership of our own lives and move forward.
Yes.
So I think it's just by example and by maybe not tolerating that within our own circles and our own connections.
Speaking of circles, can I offer you another tool?
Yes.
This is a really cool one that we do sometimes at the studio. You draw a group of concentric circles on a paper, 10, 15 of them, yourself at the middle, and on these circles, or rather on the lines, you place all the things in your life, like people, jobs, and you place them at what you perceive to be the distance from you. So like if, for example, you're right in the middle of something terrible with your boss at work and you're constantly at each other or something, you might find that that boss is kind of really close to you, right? And that your kids, who you never seem to have any time with, are way out on the circle, right? And you take this exercise of placing these things on this set of circles, and then you make a choice and you start saying, I'm going to move this one in and I'm going to move that one out. And it's kind of about a mental exercise of setting yourselves up for what you're going to choose to do differently, right?
I love that.
I'm going to take this thing, and this boss is going off, or this bad boyfriend is going off the chart, right? And this thing that I'm not doing enough of needs to come. Meditation needs to come in, or health and exercise, or fitness, or whatever it is, comes in closer. And just doing that, it's kind of a way of goal setting. It's kind of a way of shifting your mind around
energy,
what's going on in your life and your energy about it. Yeah, cool tool.
I love that. Well, I feel like we've covered so many topics and had some really positive tools and kind of tactics and ideas that hopefully some people can take away. I'm going to practice some of those myself, because I think it's always great to have topics that matter with girlfriends and then learn
Yeah.
things that have been helpful. And I've certainly learned from you guys
Yay.
today.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And thanks for all that you do too.
Thank
Wild Women
you.
Tribe.
Yeah.
Well, and before we go, do you guys want to share how people can follow you or get in touch with you on social handles or email?
Sure. I am at lylodesign.com. You can see my bags there, and on Instagram at LYLO_design.
Light
Cool.
and love.
Light
is
and
what-
love is what it stands for.
That's so cool. Tadasana.yoga is the website. Tadasana.yoga, we have a blog, so /blog if you want to follow along some of these ideas. And then we're Tadasana Yoga Studio on Facebook and Tadasana.yoga Park City and Lehigh on Instagram.
And go visit her in Park City and in Lehigh.
Yes, come visit us in both places. So, yeah.
And I want to thank all of you for joining in. You can find out more about Wild Women Tribe at wildwomentribe.net. We have some really fun summer wanders coming up here in Park City, and you can find us also on Facebook and on Instagram. So lots of thanks to Park City TV for being our media sponsor for the Ignite podcast, and tune in next time.